Hey everyone, this is Brian from Motive Training, and today we're going to talk about the Shin Box. We use this exercise as a regression from a 90-90 position where you make two 90-degree angles from your shin to your femur on both legs and both hips. So the Shin Box is a little bit more accessible for some people because you're not taxing the hip nearly as much in this position. In fact, it's a lot easier to sit upright with your hands off the ground than it would be if you were to kick out your legs like this. So this is a regression to a 90-90 position. From here, we can do a lot of different things, but to get started, all we're gonna do is try to take our hands off the ground, create some resistance towards the ground from our left knee and our right knee, so both are pushing down, and just sit there and kind of own that position. So this is the starting point of a Shin Box. And from here, we can pretty much do anything that we want. But you need to understand that this is the foundation from where we build everything moving forward. So creating resistance on this front knee is going to work on the external rotation of the hip, so on the left hip. And on the right knee or the back knee, we're getting internal rotation. So what that looks like is here we're externally rotating, and from here we're internally rotating. So we're working both of those at the same time. By pressing down, we're creating tension in those joints. So we're creating resistance within the tissues. So even though it's an isometric and it might not feel like you're doing anything, you can actually accomplish quite a bit just from sitting in this position and pushing into the ground. We like to use maximum voluntary contraction to determine how much we're actually pushing into an object. In this case, we're talking about the floor. So if you consider that 100% maximum is you voluntarily driving your knees into the ground as hard as you can, for this exercise, we're gonna start anywhere from 20 to 40% of your maximum voluntary contraction of your hips. So all I want you to do is imagine 20 to 40% of energy you're putting into your knees and your hips going down toward the ground on both sides. From there, you're going to take your hands, and I want you to keep them heart center. You can Miyagi or you can Yogi, it doesn't matter which. Hands could even be out to the side. The reason why I like to have these centered over my sternum is so that I know where my spine is in space instead of where my shoulders are in space. Because notice how I twisted, but really that was all my shoulders. I'm not really twisting my spine anywhere. My shoulders are actually moving. So if I keep these centered to my chest, I'll have a much better idea of where I'm actually turning my spine. And that's gonna dictate how much of my hip is engaged in this exercise. So hands, heart center, pushing down 20 to 40%. I want you to twist towards the left knee or the knee that's in front of you until your sternum lines up with that knee, and then I want you to pull your chest forward, not down toward the ground. Nice and slow until you feel tension in your left hip. You don't have to go very far, and you don't have to push super hard. Again, we're going about 20 to 40%. This is working the external rotators of the left hip. From here, you're going to bring yourself back up nice and slow. Twist over nice and slow to the right or the back knee, still pushing down through this knee as much as you can, holding that position. 20-40% of maximum voluntary contraction going into this hip, into this knee. You want to do this for around 5-second holds per side. We're just working the hips very gently here. We're not going all in on them, and that should be plenty. You should feel the internal rotators of the hip on the right or the back knee, the external rotators of the hip on the front knee. You might feel a little bit of tension going through the knees, but hopefully not too much. But this is going to create more space in the hips, which is going to allow us to work them a lot better in other exercises, like squats, deadlifts, and lunges. You'll do this on both sides. So even though I'm here, you would technically do the exact same thing. You would just flip your feet and your knees the other direction like this, trying to create that same Shin Box position on the other side, sitting nice and tall and repeating in both directions.